Hi, I'm Keith. Mark's behind the camera, and today is part 3 of Wildflowers in a Vase.
So if you haven't watched part 1 or part 2, there are links in the description below. We recommend watching those first so you can get the entire tutorial. There's also links to all the materials that Keith's using throughout this painting. His Schminke brand pan paints, his butcher tray, his low Cornell brushes, and his Arches watercolor paper. Use the links to purchase the items. We make a small commission. You don't pay any extra. But if you want to just use those as a checklist and go purchase at your local art supply store, we're cool with that too. So what are you doing today, Keith? What's part 3 going to be?
Well, part 3 is we're going to start working on the flowers above the vase now. We've kind of got the stems in. We've got a lot of the background in. We do have to go back in and do a little touch up, but for the most part, I'm hoping that we can get this thing done in 3 parts, or we're gonna look a little funny. Anyway, adding part 4 to our part 3.
Why is part 3 6 hours long?
Yeah, or why is there a part 4 when it's only a 3-part thing? Anyway, what I'm doing is I've started by mixing a little bit of my May green, a little bit of my chrome green, and these are, colors in my Schminke kit. And I'm starting to paint my stems, some of the leaves. Now I'm not putting a lot of I'm not putting a lot of light and dark in these yet. These are going to be a little more staid and substantial of value. And eventually,
I don't know why, but for some reason when you said Schminke kit, all I started thinking of was old Slinky commercials from the 70s.
It's Schminke, it's Schminke.
Yeah, and somebody pushing the pan of paint down the steps.
Oh, God, yeah. What the heck are you guys doing?
Look, it rolls on its own.
Yeah. It's fun for a girl and a boy. It's Schminke, it's Schminke. You're gonna love your Schminke. All right. I know what you're thinking. Quit singing.
He's lost his damn mind.
Yeah. No more singing. I will turn this video around. All right. So as you can see, I'm just getting my stem wear in. Now, when we painted the background, I just, a lot of the color went right over the stemware now it's silverware. Over the stems, because the value of the green was going to be deep enough, rich enough that we'd be able to, certainly be able to paint over the background. So, that's exactly what I'm doing. All right. So, very quickly, I am putting in, they have little tiny leaves. They're not very detailed or anything. So I'm just pushing them in right now. Now as we get around the base here, all the leaves kind of jam together, kind of stick into the top of the vase. But I don't want to do them all at once or I just get a big clump of green. So I'm painting a few at a time, and then I will come back, add a little more value, a little more color here and there, and just kind of break them into a knot of leaves. So, as you can see, I just take my time here. And meantime, as they dry, I'm just pulling up more, finishing up anything I can find. In the tiny stem department. How's that? All right. Now, I don't know if you notice, I'm trying to change the value of the leaves. So some are a little darker, some are a little, you know, little light on the lighter side. That way, like I said, they don't look like just one big clump of green.
And you're doing that by more or less water or different hues of the green?
Yeah, more paint or less paint, and also by not just painting it all at once. As they dry, then I add a little more, and that keeps them separate. Because if they were all wet, they just go, you know, and it's all one color. And that's a technical term. All right, so in the meantime, I'm just going to add a little. I'm going to add a little color to my vase. Now that I've got my greens in, I can kind of start maybe getting the lip and the edges of this vase. It's going to have a little green reflection to it. But I'm also working with the ultramarine blue. Whoa. I meant a lot of ultramarine blue. Sorry about that. So what I'm going to do is just kind of lift it and pull it down a little. Okay. Yes. All right, so while that's kind of drying up there, I am going to hit the base with a little bit more color because I added this dark in here. I can now probably go ahead and add maybe just a little more value down here. As you can see, I did not wet it. I just applying the paint at first. Now I'm going over my white lines a little bit. I want my... They will still be there, but they won't be bright white anymore. And all I'm going to do is just bring in a little more of that color. So now I'm reflecting a little bit of that darker, more somber background that I've dropped in there. It also helps create more contrast and makes it look a little more interesting to you. All right. So anywhere you want to leave white or lighter, just leave it. They become tiny little reflections from God knows where. That's half the fun of doing glass, I think. All right, so, and again, pull a little more color out. I'm going to do a little more on this side too. I do want to keep this side a little bit lighter, but I just want to kind of bring in just a little bit more contrast here and there. There we go. See how it just light and dark just creates wonderful. The contrast is so important. Value is such an important thing to a watercolor. It really does. A lot of times doesn't matter what colors you're using, as long as you get that value right. Okay. So again, back up here, I'm almost going to do a little bit more. Don't screw up.
Don't worry, folks. You will get to the flowers eventually.
Well, what I'm doing is I'm waiting for my stems to dry. So while I'm doing that, I'm like, hey, I'm going to throw a little more of this and that in there. And I'm all about this and that. So, all right. So, still wet. I could do this now, or I could do it later in the video. So
no worries. I was just making sure people knew that, why.
That if you want to see me do flowers, that you are going to have to wait. That's right. Okay.
It's worth the wait.
Yeah, we'll see.
One way or another.
Right. Whether I succeed or fail, that could be part of it. So I'm just creating a little more of that barnwoody texture that Keith knows and loves so much. All right. I'm trying.
Stop now. You might stick dead grass in the base.
Yeah, hurry up. All right. Okay. There's a lip. I'm just going to pull some of that color straight down. And yeah. All right. So at this point, I think I can go ahead and start the flowers. I'm just adding little bits of texture here and there in the wood. A little more grain. Not green. All right.
There's green in your grain. There might be algae.
Yeah. Actually thinking about doing that. Mold. All right. So, so I want my jar to pop out a little bit more. So I'm just gonna hit this with a little more color here. There, that helps. All right, ready? Pretty purple. So, I have a manganese violet. These flowers are not very bold. They're kind of actually delicate. I'm going to mix a little ultramarine blue into it and kind of purple it up a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is wherever there's a blossom to be had or created, I'm just going to hit it with some color. And I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. I'm just going to hit them with blobs. I'm giving them a little bit of texture around the edges. Ooh, there's a dark one.
Pretty.
Yeah, it's getting there. Was that sarcasm?
No.
Yeah. Was that sarcasm? Stop it. Alright, so again, now that one I gave it a little more detail. That's supposed to be a leaf that I guess I missed. So as you can see, a couple of these have a little more of a dry brush kind of feel to them. They're not quite as wet. So the blobby ones, and then there are the slightly less blobby.
I like the less blobby myself.
Yeah. I gotta get out more and actually talk to people.
I gotta find people that use words.
Yeah, language. All right. Language is my second skill. All right. And a little pink one right back there. And cool. All right. So at this point, I'm going to have to let it dry. So I'm going to take a break real quick. We're going to let these dry up, and then there isn't a whole lot more to making these little petals, these little flowers. So I'll be back in a sec. Okay, the flowers have dried up a little bit now. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start applying basically little petals, little worms. I don't know. You'll see. I'm just going to do a few and we can go from there. Basically, I'm just going to pull up these little individual kind of petal-like things, because think of it like a clover a little bit. All right, so let me try again here. Hey, my purple, my violet's trying to escape. There. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, move that now.
Yep. I'm going to put it back in. All right, so about ready to begin. So basically, I'm just kind of like creating a little bit of glob or a blob, and then I pull it down. And that's basically what our little clover little fellers are going to look like. So, you know, this doesn't have to be photo perfect. In fact, if you want it photo perfect, take a photo. Okay, so we just want it to be kind of close and interesting. So again, I'm just kind of a little bit of a glob. I'll pull it down. Now, I've done a couple, and I'm not quite ready yet. But what I'm going to do is, when the time comes, I'm going to kind of soften that with a little bit of water, so it isn't just a kind of like a hard edge. So, but I got to wait for it to get to that point, because if I do it too quickly, what happens is it'll just all blend together and we are back to kind of little purple blobs again. So as you can see, I'm just kind of pulling down these strokes, and they're getting there. All right. So like I said, these are very small kind of individual petal. This one is kind of facing towards us, so it goes all the way kind of around. All right, are we there yet? Not quite. Wow. Let's give it a try. Yeah, let's soften that one okay. 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 Time consuming? So
now this technique that you're using for these flowers, putting the blob, pulling it down, is that a common technique for various flowers, or just these kind of in specific?
Just this one, really. Most flowers have petals, you know. These are They're a little globbier. So.
Well, I'm just curious on what else people might use this technique for while you're doing it.
Well, I honestly, I can't think of anything right at the moment, but
this is a very special technique,
yeah.
specifically designed for...
Wait, I've got it. Dandelions.
Woo-hoo.
Only yellow. There. So, again, you don't have to hit every bit of the flower either, although I have been. So let's leave that one a little, like half done. All right. So what I do is I go back in and I kind of soften them so they don't look quite so harsh, might be the word. This one, I'm going back in. No, all of them. Just go back in and a little bit, just kind of soften them a little so they don't look quite so detailed. They're a little less detailed, let's put it that way. Now, aha! I've discovered two leaves that I've missed. A couple of these in real quick. So, the flowers, just like everything else, needs contrast. Okay. So
how are you going to add contrast to a purple flower?
Well, for these, I'm just going to probably deepen the value of the flowers themselves. Ah, this guy. I don't like him at all. So, as you can see, I sit and I kind of wait for him to set a little bit, and then I come back in and I'll hit him with, hit him with a little bit of water and just kind of soften him up just a hair. All right, so I'm gonna try. You know what? I am going to try a little bit of, ooh, I like that. Okay, that's what I was looking for. I'm going to use a little bit of the cerulean blue. Although the weird thing about Schminkies is their cerulean blue looks a heck of a lot like phthalo blue to me. But that being said, if you have phthalo blue, I would use that. Just because other people's, other companies' cerulean is usually much lighter and much duller. So Schminky, there's a little, I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. And it's the only color that I question. It's
somebody in the factory mislabeled it and
no.
It just stuck.
No, it's just, it is what it is. They just have a little bit of a different value to their CAD or to their.
Must be all that pure pigment that they stick into every pan.
That's right. Delicious.
If it was full of fillers and other garbage, then
right.
You'd get a different blue.
So as you can see, I'm just kind of going in and kind of popping a little bit of that violet in there just to get them to pop up. Sorry, I just had to look real quick. But yeah, so I'm coming in and I'm going to add just a little bit of value here and there, just to, darken up some stuff. It doesn't look quite so one value is what I'm worried about. I want a little bit of depth to everything. All right, so I'm going to let that set up for a little. Meanwhile, I'm going to go in and I am grabbing I'm pretty sure just about every green I have in my palette. I'm mixing that with my cerulean blue, but actually, like I said, I think it's almost a more of a phthalo blue. I'm going to come in and I just want to kind of break these up a little bit so that they're not quite so one color and one value again. So it's funny, I think I introduced a green that I didn't want to, and now that I have,
you absolutely love it.
No. I'm trying to maybe kind of back it off a little bit.
So, okay, so there's an issue. So you put down a color that you thought would work originally. Turns out it's not the color you want. So how are you changing it?
Well, I'm kind of going back to some of my original greens that I used, and I am just kind of pasting it in there. Lots of
right over top, or
yeah,
putting it.
A lot of value, lot of paint, less value.
Okay. Without demonstrating, because that's a whole different video. Just real quick, how else could somebody have tried to remove the color from those areas or make it easier to change?
Paper towel. I could have picked it up right then, but I'm like, I'm gonna go with it for a little bit here.
Right, like Mr. Clean erasers. Could you have tried
to
it out a little bit? Or?
Yep. Is that what are you stringing me along? Are you
I was trying to get you to chit chat a little bit.
I know.
It looks like I caught you deer in headlights. Like what?
Nah. Actually, I knew what you were doing, and I decided.
I'm not playing.
I decided not to play.
I'm not playing.
I'm not playing with your Mr. Clean scratchy pads.
Well, fine. I hate your first.
Yeah.
I can't believe you were silly enough to put that down.
Yeah.
And
you know what? Those
words that I can.
Those flowers are stupid.
I'm gonna berate you as soon as you do it.
No lunch for you. Anyway, as you can see, I'm kind of going around right now and adding a little bit of shadow to the stems. You know, give them a little three-dimensionality, so to speak. All right. So, anyway, see, I think I'm pretty close.
Not to keep putting down the wrong color.
You know, actually, let me discuss the Mr. Clean scratchy pads. So for years, you know, you screwed up. The best you could do was scrub and scrub and scrub and scrub, and hopefully you get the color back up again. Then I don't know, Mr. Clean, some top-notch cleaning engineer, right? I believe he wears an earring and a. Hey, wait a minute. Anyway, Mr. Clean came along with these magic erasers, the white ones that you can use to clean your walls, and we discovered that it actually picked up watercolor paint and does a rather remarkable job. Other than some very deep staining colors, it'll lift most of those colors. So and
without shredding your paper to...
Well, no, let's qualify that a little bit. Okay. You have to have a good paper if you're going to use it. A lot of times, if you got a cheaper paper, I'm pretty sure it'll shred it pretty good, you know? The stuff is tough. So...
Well, that leads into what makes arches so special.
Exactly. And that's kind of where I'm going with that, is that it's a very solid, great paper for not only professional artists, but it's great for beginners, because you can, you screw up, you can kind of go in and fix it,
But what is it that you always tell me? It's not real wood, it's...
What do you mean?
What the paper's made out of?
Oh, yeah, it's not regular paper. People think it is, It's like 100% rag cotton, okay? So it's actually a cloth. No, I don't know. I don't know about that. But I'm just saying that it's the rag cotton, the sizing they use. You can scrub on it all day long, and eventually you'll get all the way through to the other side. But it can take just an incredible amount of abuse. So I was never big on doing that until I had a painting just a little while ago where, man, I couldn't make up my mind on anything I was doing, and it worked great. I mean, I lifted and I painted and I didn't like it and I lifted. So it is really an excellent product. You might want to practice a little bit before you just give it a try. Take a piece of scrap paper. You don't have to kill yourself to do it. So anyway, meanwhile, while we were talking, I kind of finished up what I have, and I kind of like what I got. I'm going to maybe just a tiny bit more purple. I'm mixing with this time a little bit with the indigo, just to kind of get I'm going to create a little bit of a chewy center on each one of these things. And I don't want to go crazy, but I just want to kind of get that feel of that little center of the flower itself now.
I'm going to have to reset the camera.
Well, I was going to say I'm about done. Is there anything else can we do it now, or do we have to reset the cameras?
No, we can do it. As long as you think you're good.
Yeah, I think I'm about done here. I'm all done with this.
So, thanks for watching. Hopefully you've stuck with us through the entire 3 parts. If not, you can always go back and watch part 1 and part 2. And rewatch part 3, what the heck. Just a little reminder, links for those videos are in the description. We have an entire back catalog of stuff that's constantly growing. There's also links in the description on where to buy all the materials and paints that Keith's using in this series, as well as any of his videos. If you use those links, we make a small commission, and it's greatly appreciated. You won't pay any more. But also feel free just to use that as a checklist and go to your local art supply center. Leave us a comment if you have any questions or concerns, or want to show us links to your work. We'd love to see it. And suggestions as well. If there's something you'd like to see Keith take on, I keep pushing for a bright red cardinal sitting on a red bush behind a red stop sign, but
it's not going to happen.
We'll see if we ever get there.
Never. Ever.
But thanks for watching. Hit that like button, ring the bell so you know when the next video comes out, and subscribe to the channel. Check out his website, rkmcguire.com, to find out where you can see Keith in person or take his classes locally. And that's about it for me. Thanks.
Thank you for watching. Bye.